Today I'm celebrating the Festival of Lights. I'm Chef Michelle Bernstein. Join me as I get ready for Hanukkah here on SoFlo Taste. How fun is that? Happy Hanukkah! I'm Chef Michelle Bernstein and welcome to the Goya Kitchen at JA World in Coconut Creek. Today I'm getting ready for the Festival of Lights, Hanukkah. And just like most holidays, food is very much part of the observance. We've got 8 nights and days to get ready for, so let's get cooking. The first dish I wanted to make kind of just brings me right back into Mom's kitchen when I was a kid. She would try to make things a little more simple because there were 8 days to get through, 8 shopping days for her to get us little something or others to give us while she lit the candles and Dad lit the candles. So I'm gonna make that first dish that I just can't stop thinking about. And it was just an oven-baked barbecue chicken, and she would do leg quarters. And then we're gonna serve it with some latkes, which we'll do in a little bit. So let's get started with the dried spice that I love to rub on the chicken legs. Now Mom would just put barbecue sauce right on it. She was a much simpler, probably better home cook than I was, but I take a little bit of the longer route because I want to pull a little bit more flavor. So we're going to make a little rub here. We've got ground chili powder, and real quick, before I mix all this together, I just want you to know, make sure your spices are really fresh. Make sure they're kept in a dry part of the house that's obviously it's your kitchen, but not over an oven, not over a stove. It's just that if the spices get really warm, they start to stick together, they start to age, and then you will not have the true flavor of these beautiful spices. All right, I've got the chili powder in there, a little tiny bit of cayenne pepper, some garlic powder, mustard powder, you can use Coleman's if you want to, cumin, brown sugar, a little bit of white sugar, kosher salt, and a nice amount of black pepper. So this is not only for chicken, this beautiful rub could be really good for pretty much anything. And what I would do, and this is a lot of it, so please don't use all of it on your chicken, because once you make this gorgeous blend, this can actually live in a tight-fitting jar, and you can use this sparingly on pretty much any cut of meat or poultry or anything that you want to either roast or grill. It's really a delicious spice rub. All right, so there we go, pretty simple. So I've got these gorgeous chicken leg quarters. They're from a smaller chicken, which is probably even more tasty. It's about a 3.5-pound bird, and these come from Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market. And I hope that you got your Hanukkah order from my friends over there, because if not, you can still call it in, but you can always, pick it up curbside. It's so easy. So the market is located at 4191 North State Road 7 in Hollywood. Go to DelawareChicken.com or just call them at 954-983-6831. Place an order with the good folks over there at Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market, and make sure you tell them Chef Michelle sent you. So let's go ahead and sprinkle a little bit, not too much, because if you overdo it, it's just going to be overwhelming. So once you mix that all together, you'll have these beautiful leg quarters ready. And I feel like such a home cook right now, which I'm loving, because normally in a restaurant, these would be smoked or grilled, or it's so much easier like this, isn't it? So much less fuss. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put these into an oven that's not too crazy hot, about 350. We're gonna let these roast, and then we'll talk about the barbecue sauce that I made. But of course, you have to see the new latkes I came up with just to go with this. So come right back.
Stick around. Things are just heating up in the Goya Kitchen at JA World on SoFlo Taste.
Welcome back to SoFlo Taste. I'm Chef Michelle Bernstein. Wonder what the word Hanukkah actually means? The definition of Hanukkah is basically dedication, and in case of the holiday, it means the rededication of the Temple of Jerusalem after the Maccabean revolt. So let's get back to our Hanukkah food. All right, so I figured barbecue chicken, sweet potato latkes. It's a little bit hard to get them crispy, so I came out with a little combination of things that really helped it along, and it really proved to be a beautiful recipe. So I did 3-to-1 russet potato or Idaho potatoes to sweet potato. So this already in this bowl, there's already a couple of russet potatoes peeled, grated with a food processor, and squeezed the heck out of it until as much water that you can get out of there. You can wring it and wring it and wring it until you get it as dry as you can. In here I have a half of an onion grated, just with a box grater for flavor. So let's go ahead and grate the sweet potatoes. And when you find this recipe, which by the way, SoFloTaste.com has all of my recipes available, you'll see that I've asked you to give me 4 cups of grated potato to 3 cups of grated sweet potato. That was my ratio. So if you have a food processor, it makes life a lot easier. And luckily, the sweet potato doesn't have obviously as much moisture as the regular potato. So you really don't have to wring it out. I mean, if you wanted to dry it off on a paper towel, you could, but you wouldn't really get much out of it. So let's go ahead and put that into a bowl with the regular potato. Let's first mix that up. Now, the one thing I will tell you about these is that they really take in a good amount of salt. You know, you have all that starch, and then you have the sweet potato, and unless you give it salt, it's not going to have much flavor. It does have the onion in there for flavor, obviously. So let's go ahead and season this now. I've got 1 egg. I really like as little egg as possible in my latkes so that they're really nice and crisp. Let's go ahead and mix that in. And I have this little paper next to me because I came up with a really delicious mixture for a barbecue sauce. It's so easy, and it's right here, and this is going to go onto our beautiful chicken leg quarters. So I wanted to read the recipe to you because it worked really beautifully. So it's a cup of ketchup, brown sugar, apple cider vinegar, Worcestershire, Dijon mustard, garlic powder, onion powder, chili powder, hot sauce, black pepper, and the tiniest bit of liquid smoke. And it really is beautiful, but like I said, you can find that on the SoFlo Taste webpage. I just felt good about my barbecue sauce, and I wanted to tell you guys what was in it. Last thing we have to do here to bring these things together is matzah meal. Now, if you'd rather use flour, I'm all about it. You can absolutely use flour. I found that this recipe was a lot lighter than my typical potato latkes that I make. Not really sure if it's the sweet potato or the matzah. Either way, it was beautifully light. So let's go ahead and add matzah meal. Now you can make matzah meal by grinding matzah in either a blender or food processor, but honestly, to get it this fine, I would really just buy it. And a little bit more. And right before I start frying, let's take a little look-see at our chicken, because they're looking really golden. Yeah, these are really coming out beautifully. So I'm going to go ahead and brush them a little bit with this barbecue sauce that I made before they go back in the oven. Don't put too much, but let's start really setting this barbecue sauce in there. Because, you know, once you roast that sauce, it kind of sets it on, and then it changes the flavor and the texture a little bit. So we want to do our first round early on. Okay. Get these back in. It already smells really good in here, guys. right, so let's go back to frying our sweet potato latkes. All right, so I am just going to use my hands. I hope that's okay. Actually, you're not here, so I guess it's fine. And we're going to just make little, and I want to say this in Spanish, little canastitas, like little tiny baskets. So I already have oil set on about a medium low. If I were to say a number, I'm guessing this is probably at about a 4 to 5, probably more of like a 5. Very carefully add these in. Watch your fingers. If you're using gloves, really watch your fingers, because gloves in hot oil is a scary business. All right, I'm gonna watch them cook. So the sweet potatoes take a little bit to cook. You wanna just kind of go slow and long, and we want these to really crisp out. So sweet potatoes take a little bit because there's a caramelization process, but instead of that, what we want is to cook our sweet potato and get it crispy. By the way, as always, I am practicing physical distancing here in the Goya kitchen at JA World, so I'm not wearing a mask, obviously, but the crew is all masked up, and I will when we shut down. So roll up your sleeves, SoFlo, and take your best shot. Come right back. Welcome back to SoFlo Taste. We're here at JA World in Coconut Creek. For information about this educational place and what it does for our children, go to jasouthflorida.org or call 954-979-7100. Now back to celebrating 8 days and nights. So check out how delicious, I don't know why, but these came out so much better here than they did at my house. So this is the sweet potato and Idaho potato or russet potato latkes. They are just delicious, a hair of sweetness, and they go beautifully with the idea of my mom's chicken leg quarters. Now, if you want for the kids, I don't know if this sounds weird to you all, but I think it's kind of cute to celebrate sweetness, to give the tiniest little drizzle of maple syrup right over the sweet potato latkes for the children. All right, I'm going to set these aside, because when it comes to sweet, you know you got to make something with that oil, because we already used that oil. So now, of course, Hanukkah donuts, of course, right? So let me teach you this quick recipe. It's kind of like a cross between a donut and a beignet. So we're going to take some instant yeast and pour it into some warm water and give that just a couple seconds. So we already have egg yolks and a little bit of vanilla paste in this little dish. We're going to add some vegetable oil to that. And let that really come together until it's homogeneous. And then we're going to do all the dry. So we've got all-purpose flour, a little bit of powdered sugar, some nutmeg, and kosher salt. Whisk all that together. Okay, so what you're going to do is, once this is actually sit, it would be a little bit longer, but I would rather this sat for a good 10 minutes, but let's pretend it did. We'll pour that into our egg mixture. Mix that well. Once that's well incorporated, pour that into our dry mixture. Bring that together. Don't over whip it or mix it, just until everything gets wet and comes together into a very soft, pliable dough. And then you're going to cover that dough with plastic wrap until it doubles. And it will look like this beauty. It's soft, it's airy, it's pillowy. Let's go ahead and turn on our oil. You need a flavorless oil. I suggest a canola or a grapeseed is my favorite. totally up to you what you use for frying. So we need a little bit of flour for dusting. Let's go ahead and dust what we call dusting our bench or our table. And then we're just going to plop over our dough, which of course has that fermenty, yeasty smell, just delicious. Just a little bit of flour over the top and softly just spread it out until it's about, I would say about 1/4 of an inch thick. No need to roll it. You don't need to work the dough too much. You just want to be really soft and subtle with it. And then this part is kind of up to you. Now, I love the traditional square or rectangular beignets, but of course you can punch these with a round cutter if you'd like to. But to do what I like to simply do, I'm just going to cut these down into somewhat even, somewhat rectangular shapes, and then go across and then cut them into small squares. Okay? Then you want your oil to hit 350 degrees, which this has, and carefully start placing your dough into your oil. Now I like to use cast iron, mainly because if the dough hits the bottom of the pan, it has the very slight possibility of sticking, although doubtful, but you never know. But cast iron just holds heat like nothing else. And so this heat, even though I'm adding quite a few pieces of dough, will stay nice and hot. Don't overcrowd your pot though. All right, there we go. So we're gonna let these caramelize on both sides. I'm gonna use a trusty spider to pull these out of the oil. And then when you come back, I'm going to show you what you can either dust or fill or, I don't know, scoop up with. So come right back and we will finish our beautiful Hanukkah dessert. Take a look at how our donuts are frying. Welcome back to SoFlo Taste and our Hanukkah show. So the donuts just came out of the oil, and you could do a couple of different things. You could fill them. My son Zachary has asked that I fill them only with Nutella, so that's what I'm doing for him today. So you make a little incision with a paring knife, and you could even do this actually. Just sit a pastry bag of Nutella, just like so. I cut the tip off. And then you could basically just stick it in, squeeze the Nutella inside of the donut, and then you've got a donut filled with chocolate. Not so bad. Or of course, you can just basically take the Nutella, put it down on a plate. Heck of a lot easier. Although the other way is kind of more fun. And then dust all of your beignets or donuts with some powdered sugar, because you got to have the powdered sugar. Of course, if you wanted to add some spice to this, you could add a little bit of cinnamon to your powdered sugar, or you could just go straight from the fryer. As you pull them out, go right into regular sugar with a little bit of cinnamon. It's up to you. Honey is also delicious. That was always the traditional donut in our house. Was honey over the donut. But this ain't so bad either. So there we go. I'm loving this Hanukkah. It's very much about family and dedicating ourselves to our families. And there you have it. Mama's BBQ chicken, some sweet potato latkes, and donuts. Well, that's our SoFlo Taste for this week. And for another Hanukkah. This is a great time of year when traditions are being embraced and created. I hope you've gotten some ideas to add to your family's Hanukkah traditions. It's a wonderful time to share with family and friends. Next week, it's back to basics. It's the 6th in my series of what every home cook needs to know. I mean, what every home cook needs to know because they were never taught. However, after next week, you'll know how to clean a cast iron pan, how to cut odd-shaped veggies, and more. So be here next week for my Basics 106. Now let's check in with my pal, Hunter Frankie, to see what he's got coming on SoFlo Health tomorrow. Hey, Hunter.
Hey Michelle, because of wonderful recipes like yours, we all ate too much this last weekend, so we are now burning it off, but we're also going to talk to you about what to do when you overeat in the future. Plus, we head over to a vegan bakery that's making bread the way they did thousands of years ago so that it's healthier. Seniors, listen up because personal trainer Gwendolyn's going to teach you how to get up and sit down with more ease and less pain. So we'll see you right here for all of that and more tomorrow at 12:30 on the one and only Local 10 for SoFlo Health.
Okay, Hunter, thanks. So we'll be glued tomorrow afternoon, and happy Hanukkah to you. And don't forget, SoFlo Home Project tomorrow at 5:30 and every Sunday at 5:30 during football season. So taste buds, be smart, be safe, and be vaccinated, and I'll see you here next week. Hanukkah Simach. Goodbye, good health, mwah, and good taste. Happy Hanukkah!